Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. How many of you have had some type of failure in your life, whether it be personal or professional? How many of you hate having to deal with that failure? Or, more importantly, having to admit it? Failure is one of the most difficult things to deal with, along with admitting it. Tonight I'm going to talk about the 6 steps of failure, which will help with dealing with it in the future. These 6 steps are known as the anatomy of a failure. They are a guide to help you so you won't feel failure in the future. First step is the experiment. This is the first stage and also the most alive and most pleasant of all, so to speak. This is the part where you start something new, exciting, and interesting. It's where you dive in without really knowing exactly what it is that you're going to be doing. Second is the outcome. This is where something happens after the experiment. Maybe you had a bad business idea or you made a major mistake on a project that you were working on. This is the point at where you pay. You realize you did something that's extremely wrong, and you have that point of where you put up with the consequences. Of all the 6 steps, this is the one that we hate the most. It basically blows the experiment away and makes us feel absolutely miserable. Third stage is the denial. The first reaction is to deny the whole result. There's no possible way that this could have absolutely happened to me. It cannot be my fault. Denial really helps alleviate all the pain that you're feeling. It's the stage that most of us are stuck at forever. Fourth is the excuses stage. If a person moves past the denial stage, he will most likely start making excuses. Well, I got the information from Bill, who had the information from Tammy, so why don't you go and blame them or talk to them as to why this problem happened? There's no way that happened to me. Unfortunately, this is a stage at which 90% of the people stop. They never get past the excuses stage. There's always that finger pointing, and there's an old saying that says, for every finger that you point, there's always 3 of them pointing back at you, and it's these 3 fingers right here. So I've always liked using that one. They can expect a mistake, but lack power to take responsibility. The most important part is that personal development will never happen if you can't get past the excuses stage. All you're doing is pointing the finger and making excuses for it. You're never going to be able to get past that stage and be able to help develop your growth in the future. Next stage is acceptance. This is the most difficult stage of all, being able to accept the fact that you made a mistake or that you had a failure. So it's no wonder that the majority of people are really stuck at the excuses stage because they don't want to get to the point of being the one who's accepting the fact that they actually made a mistake. Acceptance means taking responsibility for what you've done. It makes things manageable again. And dealing with the denial is really rejecting the reality of it. So if you're continually in denial, you're continually rejecting the reality of the fact that you have just made a mistake. Excuses give your power to someone else. So I think that's a very important statement. It gives the power to someone else. You did it, not me, so you please correct the mistake so that I feel better. And that's really what that is saying, is that you want someone else to take care of the problem that you have caused, so you want them to take care of it so you can feel better about it. The 6th one is learning the lesson. If you've made it through the first 5 steps, you can now actually learn from your failure. So if you've gone through the experiment, the outcome, the denial, the excuses, and the acceptance, now is the point where you can actually learn from the mistake that you've made. Getting to acceptance will not change your external surroundings until you have taken action. So until you take action on what your external surroundings are about the mistake that you have made, you will not be able to continue to move on until you actually take action on that, which is really a major part of the learning process. Taking actions help you learn what that lesson is in regards to what that failure or mistake was. You see what you did wrong, when and how, and this is the point where you can actually start to fix the problem that you created. And really, that's the beauty of a lesson. You really learn by doing. So being able to go out there and make a mistake, be able to go through all the 5 stages up to the point of learning the lesson, that's really where you start to grow and where you really start to learn, is by being able to learn by doing, by looking at that mistake that you've just created and be able to go through again those 5 steps and really learning from that lesson. And this last stage is actually where the growing takes place. Growing as a person and growing on how to really be able to handle mistakes that you've made. This is the part where you're really taking action. So a lot of people might be asking yourself, well, if a person knows the anatomy of a failure, why do we continue to have them happen? And the real simple answer is you can't. You can't stop yourself from failing or from making a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's going to have failures. It's whether or not you know how to handle each one of these steps as you're going through it and be able to take accountability for it and know how to get your way out of it. The 6 stages: the experiment, the outcome, denial, excuses, acceptance, and then the final one, which is the important one, is learning the lesson. It's not about the fear of failure or trying to avoid it. It's about handling the 6 stages, learning the lesson, which will make failure much easier to handle in your life to come. Mr. Postmaster.